Hello, up, y'all. It's popping in. Steve about to react to this video about hip hop madness. Is titled "The Unnecessary Fall of Anthony Fantano." I've definitely seen him before. I know he like reviews albums or whatever the case. Don't know the details of what's going on with him though. I know there was this situation where he was beefing with Drake, and that was like big or whatever. Don't know the details of that exactly either. I'm sure I watched a video about it, but anyway, we're gonna see, why he has fallen off and what's happened. Let's watch.
Over the course of his career, Anthony Fantano, better known as the Needle Drop,
Fantano
has always been a controversial figure in the world of hip-hop. Told his existence was a light one by Drake and practically blacklisted by Eminem for negatively scoring a majority of his albums, there are times when the culture has delighted in his negative reviews of artists, and other times where they wondered how he got it so wrong. But every time, he's pretty much taken it in stride.
People get so in their feels about music, like, go somewhere, especially when dudes do it. It's just, I get the ick. Like, having another man's penis that far down your throat is just wild. You glazing this nigga, you don't even know him. So to be online arguing about, well, Drake is the better, ew. Fucking ew.
But whatever. Light and playful. However, something strange.
Oh, but I initially paused it because he said, some people wonder how he got it so wrong. If it's your opinion, it can't be wrong. That's your goddamn opinion. Some people are like, oh, that's wrong. You wrong. Y'all are idiotic. It's this man's opinion. So if he felt like the shit was trash, he felt like it was trash. You calling that wrong is so stupid. It's like me saying, I don't like bananas. I'm eating a banana. And you like, oh, you wrong. Bananas are so good. They're good to you. That's your opinion. Based on your own taste buds. What is not clicking? Niggas is slow.
Been happening in the wake of his review of the new Kanye album. A record which he flat out refused to review because of Ye's recent antics.
This is completely unreviewable trash. Now, there are some people who will say, Anthony, you're being unfair here. Separate the art from the artist. Come on now. You can't separate this from the music because it's in the music. Look at the lyrics. And if Kanye is diluting the music because it's in the music.
Crazy about
look.
I'm gonna come through and just black out. She's on the staff now. I just fucked the Jews, bitch. Alright. He's doing the goddamn most. Because as he was saying this, I'm just like, did he have this same sentiment when Kanye was talking about, slavery was a choice or whatever, and making his slick comments about black people? Were you having this same stance then? But then he mentioned that it's in the music. So it's like, I guess. Because I don't recall Kanye ever making comments about black people or mentioning slavery being a choice in his music. I could be wrong, but I don't feel like I have heard that he's done that. But this, him putting it in the music is wild.
At the lyrics. And if Kanye's delusional fans are not hearing that this record is awful on its face as they just kind of listen to it by themselves, nothing I'm going to say is going to convince them.
But I mean, those are a few lines though. You can still review a person's art and just disregard that. And not saying you have to ignore it, but you can be like, okay, this is ignorant anyway. Let's move past that part. I don't agree with that. You can just publicly separate yourself from those parts of the lyrics, but you can still listen to the album in its entirety, especially if this is your job to review albums. I think that's a bit weird, but sure.
Although he didn't adopt this approach following Ye's slavery was a choice rant, Fantano was now drawing a line in the sand with Kanye's work.
That's
in the
what
process,
I said.
He's experienced a lot of blowback. Some of the feedback is legit criticism, while some of it is just straight up hate. But what's evident in his response to all of this is that he thinks that it's only diehard Kanye fans that are bothered by this choice. But in truth, his refusal to distinguish between art and artist or push his own agenda is just the result of him steadily eroding his credibility for years. Because when it comes to reviewing hip-hop, there's an argument to be made that Fantano's authority has been slipping long before Vultures came out. When Fantano initially emerged onto the scene, he was a critic who seemed to speak from the heart about his deep and passionate love of music. Therefore, when he adored something, it was praise. Meanwhile, when something missed the mark, he didn't hesitate to say as much. But whatever the case, his rating was final. Now, it seems that as his platform has grown, Fantano has begun to be a little more tactical in his approach to reviewing, including just straight up regrading things when public perception has shifted on an artist. Over the years, one artist that Fantano went back and forth on was Mac Miller, where Macadelic got an incredibly low score, other work got decent reviews, but there was never anything that merited the famous yellow flannel that comes with an 8 out of 10 or above. In fact, Prior to Mac Miller's passing, his last body of work, Swimming, was pretty much trashed by him. Although Anthony clearly never wished Mac any ill will, the shift that happened in the wake of his death has been massive. So when he listened to it for the first time, Fantano was moved to tears by the posthumously released Good News. And then he gave Circles, an album which built on the same sonic template as Swimming, a glowingly positive review.
Yeah, it seems
but
fake.
It didn't stop there. He then revisited Swimming and completely changed its tune.
I'm definitely seeing this project as
How
one of
convenient.
Mac's better
After he
works,
dies,
as opposed to one of his
and everybody
worst
loves
at
him?
the time that I originally reviewed it.
This understandably ruffled some feathers, and
yeah.
suddenly, at a time when the world unanimously
Okay.
loved Mac, he was praising an album that he once critiqued as a serious miss.
That's a
As a result, some Mac
huge
Miller
increase.
subreddits began to call out his intentions, even wondering if this was suddenly an attempt to pander to an audience that he'd previously rejected. Now, it could be a matter of just hearing the album in a new context, or
Nah, that's fake. That's fake. If you initially listen to it, and I'm assuming you being an album reviewer that you are listening to these projects multiple times. I'm assuming. I would hope that's what you're doing. So if you listened to it, gave it some chances, and concluded that it was a 3, for you to try to revisit it after he dies, when you're, looking at it through rose-colored lenses, you're looking at it in a new light, because it's like, oh, he's dead now, I feel so bad, and now you want to give it a better grade. Like, come on. That's very disingenuous. I don't feel like you should be doing that. So I understand why people were upset.
it aging gracefully.
Rose-colored
But
lenses?
it still
I
won't
think
do
that's
much
the
to stop
same.
fans
I
from
might be
feeling like
fucking
it's
that up.
sacrificing its credibility. Or if in fact it points to his rating system not actually counting for much when he can subjectively change his opinion on a dime. Over the years, Fantano was trying to explain how he calculates his review scores. And in a recent interview with Visionaries, he essentially said that it's not just about evaluating each album in isolation anymore, especially since he set a precedent with his scoring.
I'm not just sort of like scoring records anymore. I'm thinking about it like in kind of the grander scheme of my catalog. Whenever I give something a 7 or an 8 or whatever, I'm thinking like, did I enjoy it as much as I did these other records that I've scored in the same realm?
Now, while this might work in theory, it can't always be the case, particularly when you look at the way he's thrown out high scores as of late. For example, in what world can an album like Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers get a light 7, while Sexy Red's Hood's Hottest Princess gets an 8? A review which immediately invoked the anger of the entire online hip-hop culture.
This comment said, bro trying to get a second black wife. Oh, he got a black wife. Not a second one. Fantano overthinking this album more than Sexy Red did. Ain't no way.
Anthony attempted to explain his decision as to why any comparison to a more
you have
conceptually
lost
ambitious
credibility,
record
my
could ever
friend.
get a lower score than something from Sexy Red.
Many people reacted to this score by bringing up artists like Kendrick and Kanye and A$AP Rocky and Travis Scott. Oh my God, you rated this higher than them. How could you? Despite the fact that, like, yeah, while all of these artists do rap and make rap music in some sense, they're all doing vastly different things than Sexy Red. Like, sure, you could say Kendrick Lamar is technically a more proficient, more skilled rapper than Sexy Red is, but that's not even what she's going for.
Who cares what the fuck she's going for? That's irrelevant. That's like me saying that fucking McDonald's is better than Nobu. Because it's like, oh, well, I mean, in taste, yes, Nobu tastes better, but this isn't what McDonald's is going for. They're not going for fancy dining, so I'm going to give McDonald's a higher rating than I'm going to give Nobu. Fuck out of here. That makes 0 sense.
If you actually want to make a coherent case as to why Sexy Red is bad, actually do it by comparing her to artists who are in a similar lane to her.
As much as he attempted to use this argument as a
I think
smokescreen
that's
for
a
endorsing Sexy
flawed
Red, it still doesn't really
system.
hold water when you pay attention to how he explained the process of which he reviews records. Because if you're going to look at it purely as trap music, an 8 is still a higher score than a pioneer of the genre like Gucci Mane received. While in a modern context, it's a higher score than records like Travis Scott's Utopia
What
or
did he
any
give,
Lil Baby project.
Nicki
Then,
Minaj?
if it is to be judged against her peers in the lane of female rap, it also got a higher score than...
I'm connected. I'm connected because he mentioned, oh, you need to compare it to her peers. So female rapper, I'm automatically thinking Nicki Minaj. So if he gave her a better rating than Nicki, then it's like, all right, bye.
Any Nicki Minaj project, a better score than Cardi B's Invasion of
Oh, okay,
Privacy,
I've heard
and
that.
Megan Thee Stallion's Fever, a record which basically put her on the map in the same vein as Red's debut while being much higher in quality. With a record like that getting an 8, it's easy to see why Joey Badass, whose music emotionally impacted Fantano in a way that Sexy Reds never could, specifically asked why he didn't get a higher score.
By the way, can I ask you a question? Did Survivor's Guild make you cry?
Yeah, noted.
And now let me ask you another question. What was the last album that made you cry?
Are you ready
That's a
to
good
love?
question.
So you
Any
gave
cry?
my album a 7, and that made you cry, mother? If you drop
Yeah,
Waterworks,
that makes
man, that's
sense.
extra points.
I agree.
In terms of an explanation for this, there is one simple solution. Anthony Fantano is a contrarian. What this means is that when the culture feels a certain way about something, he's compelled to go the other way. For example, when Lil Baby and Gunna were becoming hugely popular with Drip or Drown, Fantano acted like it was the worst thing he had ever heard. Meanwhile, as hip-hop lost its mind over Lil Pump and his baseless work, Fantano made it out like he was the only person who could see some enjoyment in it. Similarly, he's also found himself tearing down popular rappers because he went in with a preconceived notion of what to expect, in turn, not giving it the fair shake that it deserves. Just look at how he treated Big Sean's Dark Sky Paradise, a project which a large majority of fans believe to be his best in his catalog.
No.
He's corny.
No.
From My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy to Kendrick Lamar's Damn, Fantano has gotten it wrong plenty of times over the years. But it seems like he's taken the backlash from Ye fans since My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy harder than most. And in a conversation with Dupley after he labeled Vultures unreviewable, he made it seem as if the continued disdain from the fanbase influenced his approach to the record, rather than the moralistic stance he said he was adopting.
It's been Fantano even when I've been fair, even when I've been level-headed, even when my views on Kanye's music have more or less aligned with the fandom on certain new records. So there's not really any bridge being burnt there when we're talking about people who defend a guy who's said that he loves and people who have provably hated me for over a decade anyway. I've been trying to get through to those people, and to what avail?
And now your prescription is they say me, them.
So
Yeah,
you're
because the
doing it to
past 10
spite
years
them?
haven't worked.
Has any of it worked? You tell me.
To make things worse, his present-day stance about the inability to separate art from artists doesn't particularly have a leg to stand on, as it's clear that he's treating Kanye in an exceptional way. Because while he argued that Kanye was too bad of a person to be reviewed, he never said the same for Vargas Vikernes of Burzum, the singer of a death metal band who not only aligns with far-right ideologies way more prominently than Ye, but literally unalived his bandmate.
Now, I don't give if he burned down some churches.
Than Ye, but literally.
The crime mark black man. What the fuck?
Unalived his bandmate.
Now, I don't give if he burned down some churches. I don't care if he murdered a guy. I really don't care if he comes out with an album in the future that I find interesting. I will welcome it with open arms.
Oh, isn't that fucking rich? Isn't that rich? This is your sentiment when it comes to this white man. When it comes to Kanye, you singing a different tune. Interesting.
Where he once seemed capable or willing to take out the political or cultural context of a record and look at it on the strength of the work, Fantano's unchallenged success in the review space has likely made him feel like there will never be a point where people grow weary of his double standards, shaky logic governing scores, and the overall outward bias that he shows towards some artists over others. And as for the notion that he can look at a body of work purely based on quality, it seems that ship has long sailed. Just look at Gunna's Gift and a Curse, which received a 1 out of 10.
Oh,
I have
what?
no earthly idea why he thinks the material on this record
That's
is going to be
kinda crazy.
convincing to anybody who is like that deeply invested in the politics of snitching and not snitching. It's sad to hear him try to spend all this time flipping the narrative when this is not the kind of content people went to Gunna for anyway.
According to Fantano's own ratings, this would mean that this record is just a little bit better than Chance the Rapper's The Big Day, which Fantano rightfully gave 0. Now, if you were listening to these two albums side by side, you'd struggle to make sense of that. As for Fantano's biases entering the equation, there's also his issues with people like XXXTentacion. Although you'd be hard pushed to defend X's alleged crimes if you were convicted, Fantano gave 17 a 2. At the time, people wondered if the allegations surrounding X were a factor in his music not getting a fair shake. But then, he admitted his reservations more explicitly when it came to review the follow-up.
Now, as far as X as a person, I don't know the guy personally. Everything I've read about him up until this point is still a concern for me, even though I've seen as of late he's been making some attempts at softening his image, doing charity work. I have no issue acknowledging when somebody who's problematic or somebody who is controversial has made a compelling piece of art. There are a few tracks on this thing that I actually think are pretty good,
You can't do that
pretty
with
decent.
Kanye?
But most of this album is just a crapshoot, which is why I feel a strong 3 to a light 4 on it.
Here we see Fantano at least trying to indicate that he could still separate art from the artists back in 2017. But now, with politics becoming more of his identity, it seems like he can no longer view music purely as entertainment, and as a result, he's shown emotional responses to views he doesn't agree with.
Right, I have a new one from Central C, Doja. It's a short one. Let's hear it out. Okay, yeah, we're gonna skip that. What the? Are you serious? That's your opening line? Are you stupid? Are you dumb? Are you a moron? Are you an idiot?
Getting that triggered over that line is crazy. Because he said, how can I be homophobic? My bitch is gay. You took that serious. You took that to heart to the point where I can't even react to this. Like, come on. Come on. Put your panties up. Jesus Christ.
But when it comes to understanding Fantano's waning power in hip-hop, one factor that also can't be discounted is his age. Back when X was out, he was reviewing music made by a teenager and predominantly for teenagers while in his late 20s. And now that gap has gotten even wider as he continues to inch towards 40. For Fantano's part, he seems to think he's still above these biases and can still understand how culture changes just as well as he ever could.
When you go back, it was the Soulja Boys of that era that were laying the groundwork for the Gucci gangs. I know people who I grew up with in college were huge hip-hop fans who were just like, I don't get any of this stuff. You think 90s heads got Soulja Boy? I was there. You and I both knew how to crank that. You can't have bought into that craze, but then later down the road be like, I don't know about this Versace thing.
But these days, he seemed to be increasingly unwilling to bend his ear to new sounds, particularly when it comes to the increasingly popular world of rage music and hip-hop. As a result, reviews of albums from the likes of Destroy Lonely, Lancey Foe, Ken Carson, and others have people believing otherwise. As while this sound resonates with younger audiences who would have previously made up his demographic, it seems like he just can't get the appeal. Now, aging happens to all of us, so we're not age-shaming. But when you're in a position of authority, it's sometimes worth acknowledging when you're not equipped to understand something. And never does this gap seem clearer than when he links up with Ant and Lou from the NFR podcast.
Would you give a Redux review to the following album, starting off with House of Balloons by The Weeknd, which you gave a 3 on 10 to?
Okay, go to the deepest depths of hell. A 3? A 3? A 3? That is mind-boggling.
So that record has grown on me a little bit.
Next up, though, we have Birds in the Trap, Sing McKnight by Travis Scott. Another 3 on 10.
No, I would never reconsider Redux.
Next up, we got DS2 by Future. You gave that one a 6 on 10. Trap classic, bro. Come on.
Maybe.
What about Because the Internet by Childish Gambino?
No, I was actually just talking to a friend of mine who loves that record the other day. I still think it's mid.
Although the Kanye controversy has really highlighted the issue at the moment, Fantano's been entering a precarious position for a while now. And while he's still technically the internet's biggest critic, he seems to contradict himself on a regular basis. For these reasons, he's got to proceed with caution. Otherwise, it might be time for some new reviewers who really understand the modern landscape.
Interesting. I was trying to, defend him in the beginning and saying, like, everybody has their opinion. How you going to say it's wrong? But when he's constantly contradicting himself like this, it's like, all right. And his job is to, review albums and to, give everything a fair chance. It just seems like he's, swaying back and forth. But, I mean, we all do contradict ourselves at times. We are hypocritical at times. We do all have biases. It is what it is. We're fucking human. But this seems a bit extreme. And especially when his primary job is to review albums. It's like, all right, you're doing a lot, sir. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Let me know what other videos you're going to watch, and I'll see y'all the next time. Bye.